on. Good evening. I'm Steve Rotalakis. Tonight I'll be the acting chair of the Shrewsbury Planning Board, and we're going to call the meeting to order at this time. I have Ms. Holstrom and Mr. DiPaolo participating remotely, but us three regular members are here. So the meeting is now in session, and I understand we do not have any minutes tonight to review and approve.
We do not.
But we do have some bills. And these are bills related to 142 Clinton Street, which I have a conflict on, but I guess I won't vote on these, but I can read them. We have a bill from Graves Engineering relative to the second site plan review in the amount of $1,467. We have a bill from Bowman Consulting relative to the traffic and impact study and site plan review, and that's indicates it about 50% complete, and that's about $7,320.20. Oh, and we have a second bill from Bowman Consulting for the traffic impact and site plan review, and that's 60% complete. So if I'm to look at this, Mr. McGoldrick, am I assuming that we're 60%, we have an additional 40% remaining?
Correct.
Okay. So that bill's in the amount of $3,457.10. Does anybody have any questions about these bills?
Move to approve.
No question, Chair.
Do I have a second?
Yes, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 I'm abstaining. So I guess I'm invoking the doctrine of necessity, so I can chair the meeting. I'd ask, any comments this evening from board members? Ms. Holstrom?
Not this evening, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Mr. DiPaolo?
Not this evening, thank you.
Okay. Dino?
No comments.
Perna?
No comments.
Okay. I have no comments as well. I'd turn it over to Chris. Any report of staff?
Nothing for this evening.
Okay. Then I guess I'd go to the regular meetings and hearings tonight. And tonight's meetings and hearings are some new zoning warrant articles. And I'm going to read the legal notice because Ms. Holstrom is remote, and I don't think she has this. In accordance with the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 5, the Shrewsbury Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, March 20th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in the Select Board Meeting Room at the Richard D. Carney Municipal Office Building, 100 Maple Avenue, Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, regarding the proposed amendments to the Shrewsbury zoning bylaw as follows. First, article. To see if the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaw of the town of Shrewsbury, Section 2, definitions, to add the definition of brew pub, or to take any action in relation thereto. Next article. To see if the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaw of the town of Shrewsbury, Section 7, capital M, Roman numeral 7, period, capital M, Lakeway Overlay District, to allow Nano Brewery and Brew Pub by right, and a microbrewery by special permit through the planning board, or to take any other action in relation thereto. Next article. To see if the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaw of the town of Shrewsbury, section Roman numeral 7, capital N, Route 20 Overlay District, to allow Nano Brewery and Brew Pub by right, and a microbrewery by special permit through the planning board, or to take any other action in relation thereto. Next article. To see if the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaw of the town of Shrewsbury, section Roman numeral number 7, capital O, Edgemere Village Overlay District, to allow Brew Pub by right and Nano Brewery by special permit through the planning board or take any other action in relation thereto. Next article. To amend the zoning map of the town of Shrewsbury by expanding the campus overlay district as shown on the exhibit plan on file with the office of the town clerk, or to take any other action in relation thereto. The draft zoning exhibit and plan may be seen on the planning board webpage at shrewsburymass.gov/284/planning board with a dash in between planning and board. Next article. To see if the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaw of the town of Shrewsbury, section Roman numeral 5, capital C, to update the date from August 2nd, 1967 to May 18th, 1955, or take any other action in relation thereto. The complete text, where applicable, may be seen during regular business hours in the office of the Planning and Economic Development Office, the office of the town clerk, at the Municipal Office Building at 100 Maple Avenue, and the Shrewsbury Public Library at 609 Main Street. And that's by our board. And this was published in the Community Advocate on March 8th, 2024, and March 15th, 2024. Okay, I would turn to the first article, which is Article 20, the zoning map, campus overlay district expansion. Mr. McGoldrick, can you pull that up and explain that to us?
Thank you. So the proposal that we have before the board tonight is looking at the campus overlay district expansion. So what we're looking at currently, there's two sub-districts within that campus overlay. For those who are familiar, on this map you have Route 20 Hartford Turnpike and Boston Turnpike Route 9 up here. The Shrewsbury Commons location, that apartment district is here, and you have South Street running through the middle of partially of those sub-districts. The underlying district in this area is primarily office research and limited industrial. And what we're proposing here, there's two sub-districts within that campus overlay, which allows some expanded business uses beyond the underlying zoning with some flexibility, but obviously provides some additional provisions as well. The sub-district B, so those familiar with this site, that's the Centec North property, is primarily looking at warehousing and shipping type uses, restaurants. There's a number of uses that are identified in that, and that was developed, and what we saw out of that zoning was the Centec North project. That A sub-district is geared more towards, for those familiar with biotech uses and more office-type uses. The proposal here is to expand that sub-district A, which is the biotech and kind of office-type uses, over what is the office research, the existing office research district. So this is the UMass campus and some additional sites in that area. Just utilizing that office research and overlaying that with that current sub-district. We see this as a potential. Obviously, those familiar in the biotech sectors know that there's been strong growth in that sector in the area. Worcester has seen a number of projects that have been developed, and so there's a lot of kind of activity in that business sector, a lot of growth in that area, and a lot of kind of support businesses related to that that are being developed. So we see this as a good opportunity to expand that existing sub-district and simply overlay it with as our office research, largely conducive to those types of uses. We are not expanded any of the kind of warehouse uses, so I'd be happy to pull that up and go over what those uses that would be allowed via the Sub-District A. All of these, again, are all still required to go through the regular planning board process, site plan, in many cases, special permit as well, depending upon any proposed development. But we're really just looking to expand that over that office research zone.
Okay, and this is just a map amendment.
Correct.
We're not amending the text of the campus overlay district expansion.
Correct.
Okay. I guess I would turn it over to members of the board. Ms. Holstrom, do you have any questions about this zoning map amendment?
I don't, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Paulo?
No, I don't, thank you.
Dino?
I'm good, thanks.
No comment, Chair. No comments.
And I believe I am good as well, and I'd open it up to members of the public. Does anybody in the public have any questions about the expansion of, about the amendment of the zoning map relative to those parcels to include them within the overlay? Seeing none, I guess I would turn it over to the next zoning article. It's not 20, actually, it's blank.
Yeah, blank.
Yep. So the next zoning article is fairly quick. So in review of some of our bylaws, Mo DiPaolo, I'll give credit in reviewing some of those. There was looking at past versions of our zoning bylaw. There's actually the May 18th, 1955 version does include some lot bulk and setback requirements. And so when we look at establishing the proper date from when zoning was adopted in Shrewsbury, which has some, implications in terms of conformance of properties. We do see that there's actually an earlier date that's the correct date to reference. So we did review this with town council, and they're in agreement that the proper date for adoption of zoning in Shrewsbury is actually May 18th, 1955. So this proposal is simply to correct that in our zoning bylaw and reference the correct date.
And this, the greatest impact on this would be for the determination as to when lots may be considered grandfathered for the purposes of zoning under General Laws 40A, subsection 6, little, whatever Roman numeral it is. But that is probably the most significant impact that this date change will have, as to when the building inspector would take a look at that and make a determination as to whether a lot may have been merged or may not be subject to the protections of that section of the general laws. Ms. Holstrom, do you have any questions?
No?
Mr. DiPaolo?
No, I don't, thank you.
Good catch, Mo.
Thank you.
Dino, any questions
No
about
questions.
this amendment?
No question,
Turner,
Chair.
no questions?
No questions, yeah.
I guess I turn it over to members of the public. Do any members of the public have any questions about this potential change in the date as to when the town adopted zoning? Seeing no questions, I would move on to the next article.
Yep, so for the purposes of discussing this article, I know on the agenda it's just one, but it's actually a number of articles, but they're all largely in relation to the same proposal, so we've kind of lumped them together on the agenda. So the first change that we're proposing is to add a definition for brew pub use. To discuss that, that's similar, people may be familiar with tap rooms and that, where it's largely a restaurant type use, but they may have some very minor manufacturing of beer on site, very small. This caps it. The language that we're using is actually a lot of the surrounding communities. Grafton, notably, has this language. They have the same language that we have existing for nanobrewery and microbrewery. But this language, it caps production of beer at 25% of sales in relation to the associated restaurant use. So again, this is primarily a restaurant-type use where there may be some craft beer produced as well. So very small scale in terms of what would be developed. We are proposing then to include, so we have existing nanobrewery and microbrewery definitions already on the books,
Which we're not altering.
which we are not altering. We are leaving those as is. But in reviewing those, so we actually were approached by a brewery, and we were reviewing, they were looking for sites where that may be conducive in the community. And looking at that, we currently only allow in the town center district. And there's limited sites, certainly in the town center district, where this would be a conducive to this type of use as currently defined. And so we're looking at utilizing the overlay districts, the Edgemere overlay, the Lakeway overlay, and the Route 20 overlay zones. And what this would do is this would allow by right those small-scale restaurant-type brew pub uses that we are now newly defining, and then by special permit would allow the consideration of nanobreweries and microbreweries in those districts. So just for reference, nanobrewery-type uses in terms of scale, that it's tied to a lot of the state regulations, and all of these businesses will still have to meet those state regulations, state permits in terms of the manufacture of any beer on site. But comparable businesses that people may be familiar with for the nanobrewery scale are your Greater Good or your Wormtown type breweries. Again, some of those have some restaurant associated or attached to them, but that's the type of scale that a nanobrewery would be. And then microbreweries are a little bit larger than that, so it's in terms of production of overall annual production of breweries. So we're proposing to have those as a special permit, which gives us the most local control in terms of reviewing any potential projects. But this will at least allow us to ask the question if there's a prospective brewery that would like to locate in these districts, rather than the zoning, which says outright no. This allows us to at least have that conversation and to look at if there is a site that's conducive to it, to have the board consider it. These primarily are, these overlays are primarily on the commercial areas existing, so we don't see much impact. A lot of times these brewery-type uses bring foot traffic and activity to an area that a lot of times can help to support those other businesses that are already existing. And so we see some benefits there in terms of economic development. And so we just wanted to expand the ability to review those in these sites.
Chris, a question. We're adding a definition of brew pub,
Correct.
okay, but I don't see it in the warrant article.
So I can read the language.
Microbrewery and nanobrewery are already defined.
They are, correct. Yeah, so the new brew pub definition, I apologize if it wasn't on there, but the brew pub definition would read as follows: restaurants licensed under the relevant state and federal statutes to produce and sell beer and/or ale at the location and may include the sale and preparation of food to be consumed on the premises. Malt beverages, including beer, ales, and hard ciders produced on the premises may be sold to other establishments, but shall not exceed 25% of the establishment's production capacity.
Can we just make sure that there's not a glitch in the advertisement? And
Will do.
do we have to include that and maybe run a supplemental ad?
Has there been an interest on this?
Yeah, so we were approached by a brewery that was looking at a number of sites in town, and seeing if that was something, and unfortunately, the response that we had to give is that all of these sites would require some zoning action. What we're proposing here, I think, it's not gonna assist all of the sites that they are looking at, but I think this would at least be able to open up the conversation. I'm not confident that they're going to stick around until May. I'm sure they're shopping around to other communities, but again, it was unfortunate to have to turn down that, where they did have some sites that I think this would have been a conducive use, so.
I guess I turn it, Ms. Holstrom, we're kind of considering these articles in aggregate here. Do you have any comments or questions?
I do just have one quick question related to, is the reasoning for the, just, I guess, clarification, the reasoning for going to push for a special permit, is that due to the fact that there could be some like shipping going off from these nano and microbreweries as well, or versus the brew pub being, kind of just contained to?
Yeah, so there could be. So in terms of the special permit, what we wanted to look at is that there may be some shipping and loading. And again, if you're familiar with the Wormtown or the Greater Good, those are in areas that are very similar to these overlays. So certainly I think it would be in line with a lot of the existing businesses and those operations. But certainly because that scale is more than a restaurant, we wanted to require a special permit just to give the board additional local control in terms of considering each site individually, and if a proposed project is actually conducive. So we're still retaining as much local control as we can over these projects, but at least allowing us to have the conversation at the board level rather than having to say that the zoning is not supportive of it.
No, I think that's a smart move.
Mr. DiPaolo, any questions or comments?
No questions, but I think it's a good move. When we decided to go with the microbreweries and that, we were just feeling our way, and I think that's why this wasn't included in the initial round of zoning when we finally brought the thing to town meeting. So I think it's a good idea. They seem to generate a lot of traffic, and if it'll help the other businesses in the community, I think it's a plus.
Dino, any questions or comments?
No comments.
No comment, Chair.
Yeah.
No comments.
Okay, again, my only comment is let's just confirm that we don't actually have to put the definition of brew pub in the legal notice that was read or published. Okay, I guess I would open it up to members of the public. Any questions or comments relative to brew pubs, nano breweries, or microbreweries? No questions? Then I guess I would move on to a new business.
Sorry, before we do that, if I could just ask if we could recommend those articles to the
Oh, we're gonna
select board.
recommend, we're not gonna continue these till the next meeting?
So similar to the other articles, if we can get a recommendation that they be submitted to the select board for consideration on the
Okay.
warrant, and then we'll continue the hearings.
Fine, then why don't I take them separately?
Yep.
Okay. I guess I would ask for a motion that we recommend amendment of the zoning map to include the campus overlay district expansion as to those two parcels as explained by Mr. McGoldrick.
Move to propose to the select board the Article 20.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 So we're recommending the zoning map amendment to the select board.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Powell.
because we're doing remote participation, these have to be roll call votes.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're correct. You are correct. So I'll, again, Dino, it was your motion. Are you in favor of it?
In favor of it.
In favor.
Perna?
Yeah, in favor.
Okay, Ms. Holstrom,
Yes.
you're in favor of recommending this to the select board.
Yes.
Mr. DiPaolo?
In favor.
And I am as well. Okay, the next zoning article is section 7 dot, capital C, relative to the date change where the town of Shrewsbury adopted zoning to May 18th, 1955. I would entertain a motion to make that change to our zoning bylaw.
I make a motion to change the date of May 18, 1955 to the select board.
Okay, recommend that.
Yes.
Okay. All right, and do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, Mr. Rao seconds. So now I will poll the board. Ms. Holstrom,
Yes.
you're in favor of recommending that to the select board. Mr. DiPaolo?
In favor.
Okay. And I,
In favor.
Dino
In favor.
is in favor. Mr. Rao?
In favor.
And I am in favor as well. Okay, the next, I think I probably got to take these separately.
Okay.
The next is, I'd be looking for a motion to recommend the definition, add the definition of brew pub to the definitional section of our zoning bylaw. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Mr. DiPaolo moved, Mr. Rao seconded. And I guess I'll poll the board. Ms. Holstrom,
In favor.
Mr. DiPaolo,
In favor.
In favor.
Dino, in favor?
In
Perna?
favor.
In favor, and I, as chair, am in favor. Okay, the next article is to see if we will amend our zoning bylaw, text amendment, to allow nano breweries and brew pub by right in the Lakeway Overlay District and microbreweries by special permit in that same zoning district.
Move approval.
Okay, Dino has moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Rao has seconded. I guess I would poll the board. Ms. Holstrom, are you in favor of recommending this to the select board?
In favor.
Mr. DiPaolo?
In favor.
Mr. Rao?
In favor.
Dino?
In favor.
And I'm in favor as well. Okay, the next article is to see if we'll do a text amendment to our zoning bylaw relative to the Route 20 overlay district to allow nano breweries and brew pubs by right and microbreweries by special permit, again, in the Route 20 overlay district, with the planning board being the approving authority. Do I have a motion to recommend to the select board?
So move.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Holstrom, you in favor?
In
This-
favor.
Mr. DiPaolo?
In favor?
Tina?
In favor.
Perna?
In favor.
And I am in favor as well. Okay, the next article is to see if the town will amend the zoning bylaw against a text amendment to our Edgemere Village Overlay District to allow brew pubs and nano breweries by right. No, I'm sorry, to allow brew pub, is that a typo?
Brew pub and nano brew by right, and then.
No, but it says, I think we're missing something. So because it looks like brew pub would only be by right and nano brewery by special permit. I think we missed a phrase.
Oh, and that's for the.
That's for the Edgemere
The
overlay.
Edgemere, right, and so, I should have, added that, so we're not considering, microbreweries, which again are that larger scale, than a greater good, in the Edgemere overlay, so that site is fairly constrained in terms of.
I think we have a place to put them.
Exactly, right, so, we're just not adding it in that area.
Okay, so again, we're gonna be looking to amend the text of the Edgemere Village Overlay District to allow brew pubs by right and nano breweries by special permit in the Edgemere Village Overlay District. And the planning board would be the special permit granting authority in that instance. Do I have a motion
Move
to make
approval.
that recommendation?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so Dino moved and Perna seconded. Ms. Holstrom, are you in favor of recommending this to the
favor.
selectmen? Okay, Mr. DiPaolo,
In favor?
Dino,
In favor.
Perna,
In favor.
and I'm in favor as well. I think that
Yeah.
concludes what we have to do in terms of recommending to the select board.
Thank you.
Okay, no other zoning warrant articles tonight. The next ones will be, further discussion will be at the Thursday, April 4th, 2024 meeting at 7 PM here. New business. And again, I have a conflict on this, and I'm just facilitating the discussion as to when, if at all, you want to visit the 142 Clinton Street proposal. I saw where the Conservation Commission is having had a site visit. And maybe, Mr. McGoldrick, you can explain, and I can kind of step back.
Yep, yeah, so, thank you. So for the site visit, what we wanted to do is discuss the potential of having it, for those familiar, Conservation Commission did a similar process. We're asking, the board to delegate, 2 members that would attend the same site visit as the Concom members. So this would be a guided site visit with the applicant. Just as a reminder, so this would be 2 members that would attend from the planning board, 2 members from the Conservation Commission. It is simply to view the site. Those members would then come back and report to the boards in open meeting what they viewed and what their findings were in terms of the site. During that site visit, there would be no discussion in terms of the project, with the applicant or amongst the members. It's simply, for those who familiar have done it in the past, it's kind of an awkward process, but you walk through the site without, as we will set the route that we're gonna walk with the applicant, but no one really talks. You kind of walk through there, and you certainly are welcome to take notes on what you see and to do that. But we ask that any discussion or any comments be withheld until we're back in open meeting. But it just gives us the opportunity to get on the site. For those that haven't had that opportunity yet, to actually walk and see it, not just from the road. We can actually go onto the site and view it in more extensive detail. So tonight, what we're just asking for is for those up to 2 members to be delegated if the board so chooses.
And that's not a public hearing.
It's not a public hearing or a public meeting.
Do we have any potential dates for this?
So we do, yep. I believe those were communicated out. It's the Conservation Commission delegates did decide on a date and time, so it would be that.
I know, what are the dates, do we know? Because if I can make it, I would, but I don't.
Yeah.
I responded to that indicating that that date was not convenient for me. I was going to be out of town, I think. But I don't remember what date though. It's in one of the emails.
See if I can find it, even though I will not be attending.
If I may, I do believe that it was
I think it's next.
Tuesday, March 26th
Correct,
at 9 a.m., if I'm not mistaken, Mr. McGoldrick?
correct,
Tuesday, March 26th?
correct.
What time was that?
Well, I have 8:45 to 9:45.
At 8:45.
So you,
I can make it 8:45. 8:45 meet here or what's
It would be at the site.
at the site?
so it's you and Julie,
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
and I'm out.
Yeah, so staff will be there and we can kind of coordinate to make sure that we know exactly where on site that we're meeting with those 2 delegates. So we'll meet, and again, we'll simply walk the site. I'll provide a map of where we'll be walking on the site. But again, there's, no discussion to be had at the actual site visit. And then those members will come back and we can have a discussion of what you saw at the site visit and any important details that you'd like to convey to the board. So
No other new business?
that's it.
Any old business?
None.
Can we address the 142 Clinton Street?
It's not a public meeting, but
I
I
understand,
suppose,
but,
yeah, of course.
great.
Okay, I can't,
I understand.
Yeah.
Paul Hopkins, 1 Main Street in Boylston. I'm in a butter to the project. I am assuming that some of these folks are here for the same reason. We formally only became aware of this project a few months ago when we got the registered letter. The more we learn about it, the more concerns we have, and whatever site visit takes place, I hope you'll pay attention to proximity to neighbors, the potential for volume of traffic that does not exist now, air pollution, light pollution, noise pollution. And I'm curious as to why it is only 2 members and not a quorum of the board that's going, which would make it a public meeting.
So in order to not be a public meeting, again, that's
Yep.
the process where we keep it to 2 members.
Okay.
And that way, they can walk the site, and,
Will the public be allowed to join?
no, they will not.
What would happen if we did?
You would see us walk on the site, and again, there's no discussion to be had, and we are very strict
Okay.
about that. The members will not discuss or have comments in terms of any topics. They cannot render or take any action. Again, it's really for them to view the site, be on the site, other than just viewing it from the street. And we will try to have a path. We can share that the map that we use to walk the site. But again, the members will be returning to the board in open session to have discussion.
Okay.
It's simply to have them able to access the site.
Okay, and will that date for that discussion be publicized? Or it'll be on your agenda?
Yeah, so that would be the April 4th meeting that we would have discussion of that actual site visit.
Okay, thank you.
Any other members of the public wish to be heard on the 140 Clinton Street or any other matter? Seeing none. No correspondence, correct?
Correct. Sorry, there was one correspondence that we received just this afternoon. I don't believe we added it to the folder, but there was a gentleman who spoke at the last meeting about provision of captioning services for the hearings of the planning board. That gentleman also submitted a letter to our office reiterating the same concerns. And so I know that correspondence has been forwarded to the Commission on Disabilities, and we are evaluating how we can better accommodate that provision. It's not as easy as we'd like it to be, but we are evaluating options, and hopefully we'll have some ability to address that in the near future.
Okay, I guess then, seeing no further business, I would entertain a
Move to adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, so Dino has moved, Perna has seconded. Ms. Holstrom,
In favor.
Mr. DiPaolo,
In favor.
Dino,
In favor.
Perna,
Favor.
and I am in favor as well. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Nice job, Steve.